Oh boy. Are we upside down? Are we Hey, we've never done this before. I hope nobody's watching.
Not coming out, so.
Why is it not coming up?
Hey, there we are.
Well, we really should be sideways.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
Hey, we're live here with urAmericanTravel. You know, someday we'll figure out how to make this horizontal, like landscape instead of portrait.
Can somebody please tell us how to do
well,
it?
there's something in our settings here that we need to change, and we didn't know how to do that. So next time we'll know how to do that. So hope you can enjoy this anyway. We're going to talk today about some of the things, some of the questions that some of the people had asked about the diet that I'm on, some of the questions that people kind of wonder about it, and then some questions in general. So my wife my lovely wife is going to ask the questions.
As opposed to your not lovely wife.
Yeah, my other wife.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, my other not lovely wife. Sometimes, she's more lovely than other times.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Okay. We're off to a good start.
So first thing, we have never done this before, so if you could tell us, and we waited to the last minute, not realizing you had to change your settings to go sideways. So
yeah, we kind of had a technical glitch with the video we were going to put out today.
It disappeared.
So we just figured we'd put something out here, and hopefully somebody will get some use out of some of these questions. We were not overwhelmed, but happy that a lot of people commented on our video about reversing diabetes. We were happy about that, and the fact that we got a lot of questions and a lot of comments more than questions. A lot of good job, keep it up. And some had some questions, so we're going to go over a few of those, and then we're going to kind of go over some common carnivore questions and common diabetes questions maybe.
Well, here's somebody who said they started on August 8, 2023, has lost 100 pounds.
Awesome.
Also reversed diabetes and sleep apnea. So way to go.
That's awesome.
JS Move. Woohoo, way to go.
Awesome.
There's another person who started just a month ago, is down 10 pounds. Johnny O. Way to go, Johnny O. That's awesome. Committed to losing 50 pounds. Somebody else who found the videos that you recommended. And who were those people, the videos you recommended?
Yeah, Dr. Ken Berry, who is kind of, the go-to expert on the carnivore diet. And then Dr. Jason Fung is kind of one of the experts on intermittent fasting. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Berry is a family practice doctor in Tennessee. He doesn't practice as much anymore because he's so busy helping people across the country through his YouTube channel and does a lot of conferences. And then Dr. Jason Fung out of Canada, who is a nephrologist. And he saw so many people with kidney problems, and he began connect the links and how much of that problem was because of metabolic problems and because of diabetes. And so he began to research that, and feels like that intermittent fasting is one of the best ways. So Dr. Jason Fung, the Diabetes Code, and and the Obesity Code and the Cancer Code he's written. Also, Dr. Berry has a couple of books out, Lies That Your Doctor Told You, and he also has written Common Sense Labs, and he has one, I think, called Kicking Ass After 50. I haven't read that one yet.
Oh, that sounds like something I'd like to
read. So I probably need to...
Yeah, we need to get that.
I probably need to get that. So anyway, those are the things.
You talked about being on a plateau. A couple of people recommended switching things up.
Yeah, and I haven't really...
have you done that?
Not yet. I haven't really talked to my wife about that at all. But I think what I'm planning to do is like take Wednesdays and do like a full day fast, one meal a day, and then maybe eventually kick that up to 30.
Thank you.
And kick that up to 36 hours on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So
somebody says extended fasting, so that's good.
Yeah. So somebody gave that recommendation, and then also my biggest problem with intermittent fasting is I like to, I like to cut it off about 7 o'clock at night, and then sometimes I'll grab something after 7. It's usually not like, it's not sugar or anything, but I don't get that rest from eating and having hormonal responses, and that's a big deal. I need that 16, 18-hour rest for sure, but extend that out to 20, 30, 36 hours, and I should see a lot more kind of repair to my body,
See,
and
I've
that's
never
the
done
ideal.
it that long. That was another question. Somebody asked if I was following the plan, and I definitely am following intermittent fasting. I try to do 16-8.
What's that mean, 16-8?
I get all of my eating into 8 hours, and usually I go 17-9, based on my work schedule and when I get lunch. I do love a good carb, but I try to not have like pure sugar carbs like birthday cake, even though we have a birthday for one of our children coming up. Yay, happy birthday, Ellie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've just kind of cut all that out for the
Yeah.
most part.
And he doesn't miss it, right?
No, you know, I can't. I'm not gonna say I don't miss it, but I can tell you this: if I eat a little bit, I'd want a lot.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, for the most part, cut that all out. Now I'll get a little square bread or a little square of something every now and then, but just nothing really that would get me off path. I haven't had any ice cream, anything like that. Now I do use some different types of products that are keto products, and Dr. Berry would probably call them some of them junk because there's a lot of keto junk out there, and so there's been a lot of marketers out there. If it says keto something, it must be good for you, right? Well, that's not always the case. Some of it's full of seed oil, some of it's full of just processed things, but it's lowering carbs. And so it's got very high fiber content. It's got a lot of carbs, but they're saying because you got this fiber or sugar alcohols in it, those carbs don't count. So that's probably one of the misnomers in some of the keto stuff. You want to stay away from that junk and go back to nutrient dense food.
Nutrient dense food. Okay. And that's something I've always, I love some junk food, but I feel better when we eat things that aren't processed. So like if we're making meat for him, well, I'll add something to go with it.
Yeah, one of the questions I remember having early on after we did the video was one person asked, do you get enough nutrients? Are you not missing out on some vitamins? Now, one thing that I do is I take daily minerals almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I get them from Keto Chow, and they're basically, a salt formula almost. They're potassium and there's three primary electrolytes in it. So I take that every day, and so that keeps me from having cramps, keeps me from, and used to, if you think about,
from getting dehydrated.
yeah, it keeps me from getting dehydrated. If you go back historically, used to, people could just get that out of water.
Yeah,
so if you get some really pure, spring water, it'll have a lot of those electrolytes in it already.
Mineral water.
But we filter all that out to get pure water. And then so, I put it back in with this electrolyte formula. So that's the one thing I take. Now,
you said like keto flu. A lot of people get that, and this is not keto; it's carnivore. But
yeah, but it's a if you will, it's a subset of keto.
Okay.
It's kind of like taking
how do
keto
minerals help?
one step further. Well, it keeps you from kind of getting that keto flu, if you will. And the keto flu is when you go into ketosis. As you begin to transition, you begin to have withdrawals from some of the things you've been doing. And if you're low in electrolytes, it kind of makes that worse. If you've ever been dehydrated and you feel dizzy and you feel like, a little bit achy, whatever, that's kind of the feeling. But I've been able to avoid most of that this time because I've been on these electrolytes. So I don't really feel that as I transitioned out of, kind of the standard American diet into what at first was intermittent fasting with kind of a keto and then ultimately into mostly carnivore. And so I think, and back to answer the question of nutrients, meat is probably the most, beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, liver, she won't eat that. It is the most nutrient-dense food that you can eat. So if you're talking about getting the things you need and you don't get any fiber, well, the truth is you don't need as much fiber. You don't have to clean the junk out of your gut, and that's one of the reasons, we eat a lot of fiber. Now, I know a lot of purists will disagree with that, and it's okay. I'm not really going to argue. I'm just saying it's been working for me.
And that's the thing that got me, because I thought he was nuts. Again, we talked about this before. His
And
numbers do not lie. His numbers show that he is.
Yeah, and if you go back, my numbers, A1C 9.1 to 5.7, if you didn't watch that video, and my triglycerides went from 300 to 50 something. I mean, that is a big indicator. My fasting blood sugar from 240 to like 109, 110. So my lab results have just been, phenomenal. Now there's some that will make the argument that you can't do this long term, that it'll do damage long term. And my research has shown that there's people 15, 20 years, 25 years on the carnivore diet, and they're as healthy as they've ever been.
What that doctor, because he just went to a cardiology follow up, and he asked you, because you had a 30-point drop. What was your drop in one of your numbers? And he was like, "How'd you do that? That never
Yeah,
happens."
well, I've always had a little bit of a cholesterol problem, and this is going to get into another area where I think a lot of the people are, they're maybe misinformed. I don't know if misinformed is the right word. There's a lot of medicine out there that doctors have been taught, and Dr. Barry would tell you this much better than I can tell you, but doctors have been taught, they come in, they diagnose you, and they're looking for a pill to solve your problem. And pills don't solve your problem, they just delay your problem until they get worse, in my opinion. I can't remember the point I was trying to make here.
Well, one of your numbers dropped an awful lot
Oh, yeah. Well,
in like 3 months.
Yeah, cholesterol was really high. I went off of statins altogether because I'd read a bunch of stuff and felt like I shouldn't be on them because they were partially to blame for some of my diabetes. Because one of the side effects is your blood sugar will go up as much as 10 to 20%, 5 to 10 to 20%, depending on where you're at. And so I just said I'm going to get off of it. And so I went off of it. And in that time, my A1C dropped from 9.1 to about 6. And so I got off of it. But then I went to my doctor about 6 months after I started all this, and my total cholesterol was 350. After I went off statins.
It went up to 350?
Yeah, it went up to about 350 total. The LDL went to 266. And so, I go see the doctor. Well, no, the doctor calls in a prescription for me because they're freaking out. I told them I'm not taking a torvastatin again. I won't take that. So he called in a prescription for a different statin, and I said I'm not taking that either. And then I talked to somebody at the VA. The VA referred me to this cardiologist who's like a lipidologist or whatever, and he says, no, you need to do something right away. And so I started taking, about 45 days before I started taking this other statin, very low dose of this other statin, pravastatin. And my LDL had gone from 266 down to 166 in 45 days. And he said, well, that should be about long enough to see the most effect. And he wanted me to go on Zetia. So I went on Zetia. And I go back 3 months later, and my LDL had dropped to 150. And so he goes, how did you get and my LDL had gone to like 67 or 70 or something like that. So it went from like 160 to 70. It dropped 90 points.
That's a lot.
And he said, there's no way that Zetia could cause it to drop that much. And so I told him what he's doing. He says, well, that's not what caused it.
Yeah.
And I told him I've been doing carnivore, been strict on it, keeping my blood sugar down, keeping my triglycerides down, trying to have my HDL go up. And he says, well, that couldn't have done it. Well, there's no scientific proof for what he said's true. The numbers in my case don't lie. So what are some other questions that people have about carnivore diets?
Somebody asked if you eat any vegetables, but you do eat a few, right?
Well, I don't eat a lot of vegetables. I guess onions are kind of one of my things that I'll cook liver in, and I'll have
like
on top of some things. And I'll have a salad just once in a great while. So lettuce, I'll have some green leafy vegetables from time to time. Just not very often though. Most of what I eat is beef, bacon, eggs, and I'll have some pork chops or like a chicken leg or.
Well, tonight we had gumbo with andouille sausage.
I'll have shrimp and sausage.
There was some onion in there. And last night there was some onions and tomatoes. I made a skillet dinner.
And I'll have some what is the stuff we had? Rice.
Cauliflower rice.
Cauliflower rice
occasionally.
occasionally.
To take place of rice.
Yeah, so I do that from time to time. So you carnivore purists out there, don't get mad at me because I know that's not.
He doesn't do that all the time, but for variety.
That's not pure. So anyway, but I don't do that very often. Most of what I have like for lunch is, I'll just maybe have some hamburger patties. I'll have maybe some steak. I may have some bacon. It's generally the meat that was left over. Like today, I had chili, kind of leftover chili, so it's got some tomato
And there's no
sauce
beans
in
in
it.
it.
There's no beans.
But it was just ground beef.
But again, if you go back to the
tomatoes,
basics, most of what I have is beef,
garlic.
bacon, butter, and eggs. And then I do what she does: 16 hours of not eating, 8 hours of eating. Then the next day, generally, I'll do 18 hours of not eating and 6 hours of eating. And so what I plan to do is kind of extend that. I've done it once or twice, but I'm going to start doing it like at least once a week, where I go to 1 meal a day, and then maybe eventually go to 2 days where I do that. And then I'm going to try to get out to 36 hours. Just a lot of the intermittent fasting people that I've talked to, responded on either YouTube or other places. They said that's the key.
Several people said that.
The other weakness I have is I like stevia in my coffee, and so that's another thing that I'm going to have to figure out. I'm going to have to do a trial, get rid of it, and just see how that impacts over a month or something.
But we did switch from the powdered stevia packets like Truvia because they had erythritol in them, and now we just get pure stevia drops from the natural grocers.
So, I generally have that in my coffee. And I do, for other people out there, I do have butter. I do the bulletproof creamer where I use MCT oil and butter. I do that in the mornings. That's kind of I don't consider that breaking the fast. I use that most mornings to kind of get me through. Some mornings I don't have it anymore. I'm trying to kind of get off of that too. So there's the things. If I were to get off bulletproof, get off stevia, extend the fast, I think kind of the plateau I'm in, where I've gone to about 75, 80 pounds and kind of stayed there. I guess I was at 65 for a while and kind of plateaued, and then I jumped up to about 80, and I've kind of plateaued again. I'm just going to do a little bit of stuff to kind of see if I can't get over the edge. Again, if you've got more recommendations, and I've got some really good ones, I think those are good ones. And I'm probably going to, as we get into the spring here, start exercising a little bit. I really haven't exercised at all. Somebody asked me that question, what are you doing for exercise? I really haven't done any, but my plan is to really walk. And then I have some dumbbells. I'm just going to do some, 3 or 4 dumbbell exercises 2 or 3 times a week. And that will, that'll change that a little bit. So that's my plan moving forward. What are other common carnivore questions? I know there's some, because there's a lot of people that doubt, that this possibly could work for you.
So, there's just some plain ones, like we already talked about what the diet entails, primary foods.
Just if it wasn't clear, beef, bacon, butter, and eggs.
Yeah.
Just start
We
there.
need to get that shirt.
If you would just start there and do that for 90 days or 30 days, I think it'll make a difference in your life. If you're someone that's concerned about diabetes, someone concerned about your weight, someone concerned about your metabolic health, and what they call metabolic syndrome. I don't know if people know what metabolic syndrome is, but I had all the factors: hypertension, high blood pressure. Your waist size was more than twice your height, or less. So say if you're 72 inches tall, it shouldn't be more than 36 inches. So way more than that. Low HDL, high triglycerides, high fasting blood sugar. Those 5 things, I had them all. And so I was the classic metabolic syndrome case. Now, if you read out there'll be some people that say, well, you should look at this. LDL should go in there. Other things should go in there. Well, those are the 5 classic things, and I had them all. So I was headed in the wrong direction in a hurry.
Yeah.
And so far, things are, from a lab perspective, if you look at those labs and waist size, I probably dropped about 6 inches, 7 inches in my waist. If you look at all those metabolic syndrome, my blood pressure, is running about 120 over 70. Sometimes when I go into the doctor, it'll be 135 over 80. I just get a little lab coat syndrome, if you know what that is. I'm afraid of those people.
You just got the syndromes.
Yeah,
metabolic, lab coat.
I'm afraid of those people.
Yep.
They freak me out. They intimidate me.
Quite a few questions about sustainability, and I know a lot of people who've like, oh, I'm just going to cut out carbs, but they can never make it last. Mm-hmm. So what about this has been different for you that you've been able to sustain it?
I've realized really
that
what I've had.
You've been doing this for about a year?
About March is when I started the carnivore. I started intermittent fasting in January.
Okay.
So I think the intermittent fasting is what helps sustain you a little bit, number one.
I definitely, and I've heard of people saying it's very restrictive, and I don't feel restrictive at all.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to get there. But go
And
ahead.
I don't really feel restricted either, even though I'm eating even less variety of food than you are. I feel like here's what I've realized. And Dr. Sideways, I don't know if you say it right, Cweys or something like that. I can't remember. I'll put a link in the show notes later. But he's called the carb addiction doctor. And that's what I've learned that I am. I'm a carb addict. If you think about an alcoholic, and I'm not trying to lessen that disease at all, I think it's awful, and you have to treat it that way as a disease. But the same thing's true of carb addiction. I have a disease, and I love carbs, and when I get on carbs, and when I get on a lot of carbs, I'm going to just add more and more and more. And so I've found out that I can't be tempted by that. I can't. I just have to. Nancy Reagan would say, just say no. And so what I've done for the most part, if I have a little variance, it would be like where I would used to eat, 2 or 3 pieces of cake. I would eat like an eighth of a piece or something, And I haven't even really done. I haven't even done that. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like a piece of bread. Rather than having a piece of bread, I might have a little bitty corner of it or something, and I don't do that very often either. And I don't really miss that. I do like sweet things, and our Dalliance is dark chocolate squares. I'll have one or two of those. Sometimes it's 3 or 4, sometimes 5 or 6, and that's just too many. So it's another thing I need to kind of cut back on.
With limited sugar, it's a high.
Yeah, it has high dark chocolate, and so we don't go get the milky. Yeah, dark. It's just very high dark chocolate, fairly low in carbs. So if you looked at my carbs on those days, I might have 20 carbs in a day, and that would be half of them. 11 or 12 carbs. So again, I don't miss it. What I do appreciate is not hurting all the time, not having inflammation in my knees. Sometimes my knees still hurt, but not near like they did. I had a shoulder problem. It's an old injury, and I went to physical therapy for it a year or 2 ago, and really didn't get any better. But when I started eating this, I don't really even notice it. It's not even that shoulder, it's this shoulder. I don't even notice it anymore. I drive a bus in the morning, it's got an old manual door, and used to, when I'd open the door, it would pull on my arm, and I felt like, excruciating pain. Now I don't feel that at all anymore.
That's pretty cool.
So, one of our biggest problems, I believe, and I'm going to make a statement, and we're going to, kind of shut it down here. Haven't got a lot of questions. A lot of people hadn't come on with us, and that's okay. We didn't really prepare for that. We did this at the
last minute, yeah.
We did this as the last minute, and we did it.
And we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, and we don't know what we're doing. And we did it to kind of fill a spot. But one thing I will say is a lot of the problems we have with things like heart disease, the leading killer is not because of cholesterol. It's because of inflammation. When we have highly inflammatory diets, our blood vessels, our heart, our liver, our kidneys, they get inflamed. And when you add high blood sugar to that, and you add visceral fat around all your organs, all your organs are here, your key organs are there. And when you add fat around those, you can't get healthy, and that's just very inflammatory. So the way to head to better health is to eat things that are anti-inflammatory. And the biggest thing is a very nutrient-dense ribeye.
See, and I've never even hardly eaten beef. I haven't liked beef in a really, but I've gotten better. Just depends.
She's a little bit of beef now.
Yeah, she likes some bacon and eggs.
She likes very lean chicken. And
I do, yeah.
The thing that you need is when you have a lot of protein is you need to balance it with some fat. That's what I learned too. Is that?
And you know what butter tastes good on? Biscuits.
You know what butter tastes good on? Anything.
Steak, yeah.
Anything. I eat it by itself.
I actually cooked our butter. Cooked chicken last night. So we had chicken, and I was gonna make legs for him. They just didn't get done. But I did cook it in butter, sautéed, cut up chicken breast in half, so there was a really thin.
That's how I like to have the chicken legs, is either bathed in butter or air fried.
And then I made a sauce with no flour, but just with heavy whipping cream. So it's pretty yummy, and it was carb friendly.
So if you see this, leave us your questions. We'd love to answer some more questions about this. again, got a lot of activity, a lot of viewers took a look at it when we did the reversal of diabetes. We'll keep you posted as we go forward how my labs look.
Yeah, and we're not doctors.
Yeah, again, just like last time, we're not doctors. We don't want to be your doctor.
Yeah.
We just want to tell you what our experience is and what my experience has been. And hopefully it works for you. Check out the resources, Dr. Berry. Check out Dr. Sideways.
Yeah, and check your own doctor.
And check Dr. Jason Fung. Ask your own doctor. But, you know, when it comes down to it, you're in charge of your health, not your doctor. And so challenge them.
Yes.
If you're not getting the answers you want, challenge them and go do the research. And if you have questions about that, I'll point you where I looked and you know, give you my opinion. But then you got to kind of do it for yourself at that point. So thanks for watching. We hope this has again been informative, and give us some tips. We've never been live before. We just did it.
Always wanted to do it.
We kind of wanted to do it, but we hope it'll help a couple of people out there.
Thanks. And then next video, we did go to RV show, and we are looking at some Class A's and fifth wheels. Already dreaming of our next rig. So
yeah, so we don't know if that'll be anytime soon. They all want money for them. It's amazing.
But we will have video from that next week.
We'll have video from that next week, and then we'll go on from there. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and hope you enjoy.
Remember,
it's all about the journey to infinity and beyond.